Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. We will continue our journey with Yalla Salesforce. Over the last couple sessions, we were focusing on the user management and how can we create a new user, assigning them a license, which will determine the profile. And we learned the big guiding principles that we keep repeat over the last couple of sessions. For the least privilege, we should be giving the user only the access they need in order to do their job function. The profile, we agreed, the best practice is to give a minimum access. And if we need to expand this access, we have different tools like permission set and permission set groups in order to open more access for different job functions. We also learned that Salesforce is giving us different tools to secure the org and then control the access over different objects, different fields, different records, and so on. Today, our topic is user access policies. User access policies is a tool to streamline and automate user onboarding. So we have different technologies, as we mentioned, with different tools we have, and we need to make sure when we have a new user, the onboarding process is seamless. We are assigning them all what they need in order to be able to do their job function. We used before that this is a big task for our Salesforce administrator, but today with user access policies, everything gonna be automated. So let's jump into it. The module starts in here that what are user access policies? Managing your user is one of admin most important tasks. So admin doing a lot of great things. So creating users, assigning access, creating permissions, permission set groups, and all of these great stuff. So big chunk of the admin tasks is to make sure that users have the right access in order to do the job. So you must make sure that users have the correct permissions and access to the data to do their job. But you must also secure your data so that no one has too much access. We agreed before that with the least privilege, we want to make sure that we are like discounting any access accordingly they will not be able to do their job, or generously giving them extra access, which will put our org in risk. So depending on your security and access configuration, this job can be complicated and time consuming. Because if you remember last time from the permission set groups, we were talking about 3 users with 3 different permissions, and we need to put them in a permission set group. But when we scale the org and the implementation to like 5,000 users with 2,500 permission sets and permission set groups, this job can be very complicated. So there are so many permission sets, public groups, and queues, and we need to make sure we streamline this process. So let's make sure that we are still aligned with all the vocabulary. We understand all of these different tools and why it exists and what it's used for. And then we will be continuing our journey with the user access policies. Permission sets, we agreed before, profile, minimum access, and then we need to extend this access. So we need to give permission sets in order to give this extra piece. So last time, if you remember, we had this orders permission set, we have contract permission sets, and we bundle them in the sales process permission set group, and we are assigning it. So permission set to extend this access. Permission set groups is to bundle all of these permission sets, which having this level of granularity for the permission sets will give me the option to do the reusing and the enhance and make the reusability for those permission sets possible. And we can bundle them within permission set groups for certain job function. New term in here, permission set license. Last time, when we were in the user, when we creating a lot of users, and we learned about this Salesforce Inspector plugin before, which we can easily navigate to the users from here, or if you want to like do the normal path, it's gonna be from setup and go from here users, and from users you will find users, and then you will land into the users page. When we were doing that, we have this new user. We said it's mandatory to provide the username for sure, last name, but in here we have the user license. So user license, it will determine which profile. So we saw last time, if I'm using like chatter free license, you will not be able to do like other than chatter related profiles. But if we are using the full-blown Salesforce license, it will give me the different profiles because this will have way more access. So this is the user license. I have as well features in here like Service Cloud users. So you need to have a Service Cloud license in order to be able to assign this feature license, which is Service Cloud user. All right, so what is the permission set license? On the top of that, you can purchase add-ons. Something like you got already the Service Cloud license, but you need to enrich it with Einstein and AI capabilities. In order to have it, it will not be one of those feature license, and it will not be the profile itself. So how can we, or the user license itself. So how can we do that? So you will find in here, permission set license assignment. Permission set license assignment is added on your user license. And you have the flexibility because you might have 100 user that needs Service Cloud, but only 10 of them need this extra Einstein access. So within edit assignment, you will find different permission set license so that you can assign it to the user. Here we are talking about field service. You will have Einstein, you will find B2B, you will find a lot of different permission set license so that you can assign it to the user based on your subscription with Salesforce. Accordingly, in order for the user to do their job function, if this user needs to have user license to Salesforce, and they need Service Cloud as a feature license, and they need Einstein as a extra permission set license, this permission set license should be assigned to the user in order to be able to do their job function. The next one is the package license. We agreed before that part of Salesforce ecosystem, our great partners who keep develop packages available in the App Exchange. What if they develop the package and it's not a free package? It's paid a package that when you install it, you need to apply licenses for the users in order to be able to access. Like if you need to have something like Box, Encino, different packages are available online, which will extend your platform capabilities. In order to assign this license, you will find as well package license that you need to assign it to the user. Next one is queues. Queues is a tool within Salesforce which will allow you, it's from its name, that you keep stacking records and you are not assigning those records to an individual user. You need to assign it to a queue, and there are different users that have access to that queue. So when one of those users is available, we'll go to the queue and start pulling those records and work on them. If we want to see it in action, so as usual, we'll go our friend setup, and from here, we will just write queue. And from queues, you can go and click new. So I will say my case queue. All right, and in here, we will need to say, yes, what is the object that will be available within that queue? It's going to be the case queue. Who will need access? And this is what we are talking about. We need to assign certain users to have access to that queue. So I'm assigning myself for now. The result of this queue on the case will enable you, when you go here, back to the Service Cloud, and you go to the cases, you will find in here a queue, my case queue. It's empty now. But if we open all cases, and I went to that case, and I found in here, this is owned by me. I created that case. How about I need to have this case in the queue, so if we have another user have more capacity, can work on it. So what you need to do, you will be doing this, which is change owner, or you can click on that button, which is change owner. And when you do that, you have the option in here, either to have it assigned to another user, or you can assign it to a queue. If I need to assign it to a queue, I'll be just writing the queue, my case queue. And in here, I will say change owner. Now, when I go to my open cases, this case will not be under my bucket. However, if I went back in here and I went now to the my case queue, now it's available in the queue. So anyone has access to that queue will be able to see it. And when we talk more about like omni-channel, we can have this routed automatically into available resources who has available capacity, and they match the skills and all of these great stuff. But we can have it in here in a queue, so we can have this shared bucket. All right, why we are saying in here? Because all of these things will be needed to be assigned to a user in order to be able to do their job function. Last part in here is the public group. What is the public group? We agreed before that we have the org-wide default, which is we can do it from the setup sharing settings. And within the setup sharing settings, we have all the objects which we can specify whether it's a private, public, and so on. How about it's a private? That means only the owner for the record and whoever on the top of the role hierarchy will be able to see that record. But if I need to share it, we agreed before that we have two different types of sharing. When we click in here, based on a record owner or based on criteria-based sharing. One of the options was to share it with the public group. And we agreed that I can say share from that role to another role. But what if I need to mix and match different things? The keyword in here will be the public group. Again, from the setup, go to the public groups, and from public groups, you can create a new public group, and you can start saying, I will have within this public group CEO, all the CEOs, and I need to have this specific user on the top, so you can mix and match different roles and users and other public groups and so on. And as soon as you do that, you have a bucket which you can do this share. So again, if this new user need to be part of public group in order to have records access, we will need to assign a user to a public group. All right, so we are all familiar now with all of these terminologies: permission sets, permission set groups, permission set license to give those add-on license, package license if you got a package from App Exchange and they want to assign the license, queues if we have a bucket to have all of these records available. So whenever we have a user available, we'll start working on them. Public group mainly for sharing in that context. All right, the good news is that user access policies can make this task so much easier, because we used to like have this definition for the user that belong to that specific persona. They need to have access to all of these different things, but we need to make it easier. So with user access policies, you define aggregated access for your user in a single operation. There is no need separately assign your user license, permission sets, public groups, and there is room here for error and so on. So let's streamline this process. All right, there's no need separately assign all of these great stuff in multiple pages in different clicks within the setup. Instead, you set up the policy that targets specific user and the grant or revoke, because we might have Bassem that used to be working for like the sales department, and the Bassem moved from sales to marketing. Accordingly, whatever he or she used to have will need to be revoked, and we need to grant him or her different access. How can we do that? All of that is possible using the user access policies. So we can put whatever criteria we need, and based on that criteria, we will be doing actions, and those actions will be either grant or revoke an access. All right, now user access policies, put whatever you want and then shoot it to the user. All right, when to use user access policies? Let's dig into potential benefits of user access policies a bit more. You can create policies that cover a host of different access scenarios through the whole user management lifecycle. Here are a few examples. Migrate users from one setup configuration to another. All right, so we can have it as one-time thing to be executed manually, something like we used over the years to build the profiles, and we used to put all of these object permissions and FLS within the profile itself. However, the best practice now is to move all of these access from the profile into permission sets and permission set groups. Accordingly, once we put all the different job functions within permission set groups, we need to move those users from whatever profile persona base that they used to be in, like sales profile. And we need to make sure that we are giving them the minimum access profile. And then we need to assign for them whatever permission sets and permission set groups that will grant them the same access. So part of this transition from the old way of using the profile into the new way of using permission set and permission set groups, we need a tool. We used to do it manual as well by doing this manual assignment, but we have a tool in here. If we have the right criteria that will identify those specific users, we can apply user access policies. So let's say you decided to make change to your data access and security configuration. For example, you are migrating from profiles and permission set and permission set groups, lead model. After you configuring your permission sets and permission set groups, you can create policies that can bulk assign all of these. Automate access configurations for new users. Wouldn't it be nice if your new user were magically set up and ready for a new start? All right, so user access policies can get you pretty close to that dream. Create policies that target your various new users, perhaps filtering and assigning on their assigned profile or role, and then boom, the user access policy gonna fire and assign do all of this assignment automatically for you. You can also create filter based on fields on the user records, such as title, department, active, division, and we're gonna have all of this hangs on very soon. All right, automate updates to user access after job changes. Again, so this trigger can be upon user creation, or as well, it can be upon user update. So it's not just initial user setup, but the ongoing maintenance for the user needs change. To make user management easier, set up user access policies that trigger when a user record is updated as well and matching the criteria. You grant or revoke access when user is promoted, change roles, move to department, and so on. Revoke access and license during organization cleanup. Same thing. You don't want access features and license assigned to user who don't need them. So if you have users who are not actively using these licenses, you can remove their license to free up licenses, as we discussed before. Because for every org, we have limited number of licenses based on what we purchased. So how can you tell how many licenses you have if you went to the company information, and from company information in here, you will find the user licenses. So I have here total 2 of Salesforce full license, and I have only 1 remaining. And then I have the permission set licenses in here. I have 20 B2B, and I have 20 commerce, and so on. And I have those feature licenses as well. So I have here the Service Cloud user. I have only 2 licenses for the Service Cloud user. All right. So user access policies in action. At Ursa Major Solar Inc., Maria has her hands full as a system administrator. She has a lot of things: user management, data management, creating reports, dashboards, creating custom objects, adding fields, and so on. In particular, she finds herself spending most of her time on the user management aspect of the job. As the business has expanded and the new hires joining, we need to make this process way easier and less time consuming for Maria. So Maria needs to manually assign all of these new user multiple access features depending on their role. And this manual maintains a massive spreadsheet to keep track of the users, and it's a very, very time consuming job. Maria also has wanted to update how permissions are assigned for some of the users. On the support team, these users are still being assigned all of their permission through their profile. This is the problem statement we were talking about, that we used to build everything within the profile. Now it's time to move. But Maria prefers to follow best practice now and use permission set and permission set groups. Maria hasn't had time for what she thinks will be complicated migration projects. Because this migration project, that means we need to get all of these users, we need to define the persona, define the job functions under them, put the future say permission set and permission set groups, and start doing all of that mapping and defining the public groups and all of these great stuff. So this is gonna be a very time-consuming job. From the previous example, you might already have some ideas on how Maria can create user access policies to fit these specific needs. All right, any questions? Sounds perfect. All right, so let's jump to the quiz. All right, we got those 100 points. All right, so the next module is for getting this hands-on experience creating the user access policies. So let's go through the problem statement first. So Maria is currently spending a lot of time setting up access. She already put everything in place. She wants to target the new sales reps so that automatically given the permission and the access that they need. She has everything in place. It's all about getting this user access policy ready. We will not go into details for what is the permission sets and public groups, because we covered all of that in the last sessions for data security and permission set groups. All right, so for this specific module, we will need to sign up for a developer edition org. All what you need to do, click in that link, fill all of these details, which will bring this specific user access policies org. It has like certain permission set and permission set groups that they will be using in this specific module. So once you fill all of the details, sign me up, you will be receiving an email like that, which you will need to verify the account, reset the password, and from here, you're going to put your password. And then when you do that, you change the password, you will be directly into the org. But is that org now connected to your Trailhead account? The answer is no. So you will need to go in there, click in those three dots, connect org, and then you will need to go get your user, which you put while you are doing this sign up, put it in here, put your password, and then hit login. Now, it will ask you that I'll need those permissions, this called OAuth, and then you are allowing. So now you are connecting this specific org with your Trailhead account. Now we are in. All right, so we are back into the module, and now we have this UAP is assigned to your org. All right, so after we do that, so those were the steps in order to connect those together. Now it's the time to start the hands-on journey, create a user access policy. So is the user access policy by default opened? The answer is no. So let me make sure first that this is the org we are talking about. So I will be clicking in here, launch, and I'll make sure that this is the org we have. All right, so I'll go for here, user access, user management. User management is a screen which we use to enable the enhanced profile. You remember we had this long list of profile, object access, user access, app access, and so on. So this was like the one, the enhanced experience for the profile. And we have as well in here, user access policies. So I'm gonna enable the user access policies to make sure that we are enabled for this amazing module. So once we do that, back, if I click now in the quick find user access policies, you will find user access policies became available. We need to define a new user access policy. So let's get back into the steps in here. So I went to the user management, and within the user management, I enabled the user access policies. I need to put the policy name now. So it's access for new sales reps. This is the policy name, and the order is one. So I might have multiple policies that I want to apply it, and I need to know what will be the order for those policies. It's best practice always to put a description, and then you will hit save. All right, so we created the user access policy. Now we need to specify what will be the criteria for the users that this policy would be applied. All right, so in here, you will have a button in there called edit criteria. For the people who have this role equals Eastern sales team, so I will need to go in here saying role equals Eastern sales team. The next one is so we finished. So the options in here are based on the role, groups, permission set that they already have, or even the profile. And once we do that, we need to have extra criteria based on user fields. So I need to in here saying we're active equals true. So anyone that has role equals Eastern sales team plus they are active users, this policy will be applied to them. So within this edit criteria, we have here define actions. So what will be the actions? We have the option either to grant or revoke. So we need to grant different things. We need to grant permission set groups called sales rep. We need to grant public group called all sales rep. And we need to grant the permission set license sales cloud console. User. All right. So 2 criteria, 3 actions. Once we've done that, now you have in the action, 3 actions will be assigned. So we saved all the changes, and now make Maria is pleased that all of his amazing work is done. She still has to automate the policy through, otherwise her hard work will not have any effect. So it's all about now automating the policy. When you click automate the policy, you have 3 options. Only when it's created, a new user, updated user, changed the role from A to B and became now satisfying the criteria, or they used to be inactive and now they are active, when a user is created or updated. All right, so click automate. This is gonna, when then select when to trigger the policy. You can set the policy to run when a user meeting those criteria. Now we want to apply it only when the user is created. So only when the user is created, activated, and now we have it active for any new user. All right, so let's go and create new users. I will go in here, saying users. Within users, I'll be creating a new user. The new user is Lance Park, and Lance Park is, I will put all the details that is required. We agreed that the email can be reused, but in here, the username cannot be reused. So user access policy dot. And what will be the license? The license I need to assign it is Salesforce. So I'll go in here, assign Salesforce license, and within the role, I need to give it Eastern sales team, so they can satisfy the criteria. And I want to give the profile to be a minimum access Salesforce, and this has to be, let's say, disable the Salesforce CRM content user. So Salesforce content user, let's search for it. Content user, I don't need it for this exercise, and let's hit save. So the user is satisfying both conditions we agreed on, Eastern sales team plus it's an active user. As soon as I do that, the user access policy should be firing now. So I'll go back to the user access policies to make sure it ran. Within here, you will find that this is already done. And when I click it, you will see that Elancy already got assigned the permission set group and the permission set license we just configured. And when I go to the user we just created, when I go in here, you will find everything is in place. Sounds perfect. So everything is working as expected. Let's go to the hands-on challenge. Now, let's create a new user access policy and that run automatically whenever a user is promoted from sales rep to lead sales rep, to assign them the sales team leader permission set groups, which now this is the value of having this special org, because it has all of these permission set groups. All right, so let's create this new policy. So I'll take the name of the policy. I'll go in here again in the setup user access policies, and within the user access policies, I'm gonna create a new access policy, and the order will be 5. Now, in the criteria, what will be our criteria? For user criteria, we need the title to be lead sales rep. All right, so in here, title equals case insensitive, ignore case. And what will be the action? Grant sales team leader. Grant permission C groups, sales team leader. Automate the policy so that it runs only when the user is updated. So I'll hit save, and then I will automate when the user is updated. And now all what I'm gonna do for Aaron, so I will find Aaron by going to the user in here, and within the users, let me find Aaron. So Aaron done. So in here, Aaron, and I will need to edit, and I'll go for the title, and I'll put it lead sales rep. As soon as I do that, I am expecting that when I go to Aaron, now permission set license, permission set assigned became sales team leader. All right, so let's the challenge. Any questions? Sounds perfect. All right. Woohoo, we made it. So the next one is mainly for migrating user with user access policies. Now we learned how to automate it, make it for ongoing process for creating a new user or updating the user. Now it's the time for one-time migration. As we mentioned in Unit 1, user access policies can come in handy when you are making a larger scale user access changes, like migrating users from one setup to another profile to permission set and permission set groups, assigning permission using permission set and permission set group instead of profiles, recruiting group and queue membership based on annual realignment. So there's org chart and so on, rolling out new features, and you need to grant mass permission sets and permission set license, removing access as well. So for these type big changes, you create manual user access policy. You apply the policies directly to the users meeting the criteria, giving you more control over what changes will be applied. But the same benefits of user access apply, you can aggregate access and apply these changes to user in a single operation. Aggregate means we're gonna put permission set, permission set groups, queues, public groups, and all of these good stuff we were just talking about. All right, so back to Maria. Want to migrate some of the company existing profiles to a permission set and permission set groups. She knows that user management best practice is starting this work with the support team and want to set up user access policies instead of manually updating those great users. All right, so we'll go for the user access policies again. We'll create a new user access policy for support profile migration. All right, so back in here, user access policies. And if within user access policies, I will be creating a new policy. And you see it's a very handy process. All right, so we'll put a description in here, forget about the order. And now we need to specify what will be the criteria for us. All right, so the criteria, profile equal custom support profile. Profile equals custom support profile. And the user is to be active, so active equals true. And what will be the action? We need to grant permission sig group, grant permission sig group support user. We made it. All right. Apply the user access policy. How can we do that? So this was the way to automate it. Here, the apply policy. When I do apply policy, I'll say apply to all. Whoever is matching the criteria, it will be applied. Whoever is not, it will not be applied. So apply to all. And now you will see that permission sig group support assigned to different users. When you click done, it's the same thing that you will find in here that we granted those users the support user because they used to have that specific profile. All right. Any questions? So what we learned so far? we learned great stuff together, that we need to make the user onboarding process automated, and it's very seamless, and like save a lot of time for our great admins. How can we do that? We have permission sets, permission set groups, we have permission set license, package license, queues, public groups. And we need, when we satisfy certain criteria for a new user or for an updated user, to automate and assign all of these in bulk. And we have another use case as well, that we need to migrate from old setup to another setup, like profile to permission set groups. We have a big reorg. We have a new feature that we are implementing, and we need to have this migration rather than clicking and doing all of this configuration manually. We need all of that to be in one operation, one transaction. So we set up the policy, apply the criteria, do the action, and then hit it, and it will be applied. All right. So let's define a new policy name. User access policies, new user access policy, policy name, and what will be the description. We will put exactly the same tier group. Do we have any order? No, they didn't specify any order, so we're gonna hit save. What will be the criteria in here? Group equal technical support. Group equals technical support, and group equal expert support. All right. So what we need to achieve, remove users from technical support and expert support public groups and add them to new tier 3 support public groups. So we are shifting from two different public group into a new one. So we are saying anyone that satisfies those two conditions, define 3 actions. First, grant tier 3 group. So I will go in here saying grant public group tier 3. What is the different action? And revoke the 2 groups. So I will have revoke group, and the group will be the technical support, and one more revoke and group and the expert one. I'll hit save. I will apply the policy and apply it to all. Whoever matching the criteria will happen. And now we will see that it's already applied, and we should be good to go. Any questions? Woohoo! We achieved it together. Thank you very much for joining. I hope it was helpful, and see you next week. Have a wonderful day.